Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the life of one of America's most consequential and complicated presidents, Lyndon Baines Johnson. You might know him as LBJ, the man unexpectedly thrust into the presidency after one of the darkest days in American history. But his story is so much more than that single moment. It's a tale of raw ambition, political genius, and a legacy that continues to shape the United States today. Born in the rugged hill country of Texas in 1908, Johnson's early life was defined by a burning desire to escape the poverty that surrounded him. He wasn't born into wealth or privilege. He had to fight for everything he got. After working his way through Southwest Texas State Teachers College, he briefly taught public speaking and debate to underprivileged students, an experience that deeply influenced his views on opportunity and education. But teaching wasn't his ultimate calling. Washington was. Johnson arrived in D.C. as a congressional aide in 1931 and quickly earned a reputation for his relentless work ethic and his incredible ability to understand people. He learned the inner workings of power from the ground up. By 1937, he was elected to the House of Representatives as a staunch supporter of President Franklin D. Roosevelt and his New Deal policies. He saw firsthand how government programs could lift people out of despair, a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. His ambition was legendary. After a narrow and famously controversial victory for a Senate seat in 1948, he began his meteoric rise. In just a few years, he became the Senate Majority Leader, a position he transformed into one of immense power. They called it the Johnson treatment, an overwhelming combination of persuasion, intimidation, charm, and sheer physical presence. He could get in your personal space, grab your lapels, and argue his point until you had no choice but to agree. It was through this mastery of the legislative process that he pushed through the first significant civil rights legislation in nearly a century in 1957. In 1960, he ran for the Democratic presidential nomination but lost to the charismatic John F. Kennedy. In a move that surprised many, Kennedy chose his rival Johnson as his running mate. As vice president, LBJ often felt sidelined and frustrated, but on November 22, 1963, everything changed. In the chaos and grief following President Kennedy's assassination, Lyndon Johnson was sworn in aboard Air Force One, inheriting a nation in mourning and a world on edge. Taking the helm, Johnson made it his mission to honor Kennedy's legacy. He told the grieving nation, "Let us continue." And continue he did, with an energy that stunned Washington. Using his unparalleled legislative skills and the nation's desire for action, Johnson launched one of the most ambitious domestic agendas in American history, the Great Society. He declared a war on poverty and pushed through a flood of landmark legislation. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was a monumental achievement, outlawing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. He followed it with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which dismantled the legal barriers that had prevented African Americans from voting for generations. But that was just the beginning. The Great Society created Medicare and Medicaid, providing health insurance for the elderly and the poor. It established Head Start for early childhood education, poured federal funds into schools, and passed laws to protect the environment. Johnson's vision was to build a more just and equitable America. However, a shadow loomed over his domestic triumphs: the Vietnam War. Inheriting a growing conflict, Johnson dramatically escalated U.S. involvement, believing he had to stop the spread of communism. The war drained resources from his Great Society programs and, more importantly, cost tens of thousands of American lives and millions of Vietnamese lives. The nation became bitterly divided. Protests erupted on college campuses and city streets. The same president who was a champion for civil rights at home was seen by many as the architect of a brutal, unwinnable war abroad. The weight of the war and the division it caused took a heavy toll on Johnson. The man who loved to be loved was now one of the most polarizing figures in the country. In a shocking television address in March 1968, he announced he would not seek, nor would he accept, the nomination of his party for another term as president. His political career was over. He returned to his beloved Texas ranch where he passed away in 1973, just 4 years after leaving office. Lyndon B. Johnson's legacy is a study in contrasts. He was a political titan who used his power to pass laws that fundamentally reshaped American society for the better, yet he also led the nation deeper into a devastating war that tore it apart. He was a complex, flawed, and profoundly influential leader whose actions continue to provoke debate and inspire discussion to this day. Thanks so much for watching. What are your thoughts on LBJ's presidency? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.